The top stories tonight in Wine News. Following her withdrawal for re-election in Davao City, a close ally of presidential daughter Sara Duterte believes that she will likely run for presidency in the 2022 polls, but not under her father's party, PDP Laban.
President Rodrigo Duterte has chosen former PNP spokesperson, Police Lieutenant General Bernardo Carlos, to be the next chief of the Philippine National Police.
And the stage is set for the mass vaccination drive of the government as it targets to inoculate 15 million Filipinos in 3 days.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, November 10, 2021. I am Marilyn Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. A close ally of presidential daughter Sara Duterte Carpio said that she will likely run for president after withdrawing her bid for re-election as Davao City Mayor in the 2022 polls. The official also bared the possible reasons why the incumbent Davao City Mayor is having a change of heart. Nelmari Buhok explains why.
That is the only logical conclusion to all the gyrations in politics inside the administration. And BP is definitely not an option for her.
This is what Albay 2nd District Representative Joey Salceda said after Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio withdrew her candidacy for re-election. Salceda based his statement on his personal conversations with Sara hours before her withdrawal of candidacy as mayor of Davao City. Salceda added that Mayor Sara will more likely join and eventually run under the banner of Lakas CMD, which is headed by House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez, and not from the ruling party PDP Laban, where her father President Rodrigo Duterte is the chairman.
Ayaw niya may gulo pa kasi sa Comelec ang PDP. Kaya obviously hindi siya doon tatakbo.
He also explained the possible reason why Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio is having a change of heart despite dismissing speculations that she would run for president or vice president.
That shows her unyielding firmness towards that purpose. So there were hurdles put on her way. So she wanted to run on her own term. May mga conditionalities or whatever, so she did not. So ngayon nawala na yon. I don't think that it's simply because there were hurdles. That's why she did not file on the first day.
According to Salceda, Mayor Sara will announce her final political plans before November 15. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte has appointed Lieutenant General Bernardo Carlos as the next chief of the Philippine National Police. Leah Ilagan reports why.
Seniority, merit, track record, and service reputation. These are the basis of President Rodrigo Duterte for choosing former PNP spokesperson, Police Lieutenant General Bernardo Carlos as the new chief of the Philippine National Police. Carlos is a member of Philippine Military Academy Maringal Class of 1988. Prior to his appointment as the country's top cop, he served as a PNP spokesperson and chief of the Aviation Security Group. He also served as regional director of Police Regional Office 8 in Eastern Visayas. In a statement, Department of Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año said they are expecting that Carlos' leadership will intensify the efforts against illegal drugs, criminality, and communist insurgency in the country. The palace meanwhile said they are confident that the new chief PNP will continue the government's envision to the organization. Carlos will take over the post on November 12 when outgoing Chief Police General Guillermo Eleazar retires from service. Meanwhile, Lieutenant General Carlos is set to retire on May 8, 2022. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, the national government targets to inoculate 50 million Filipinos against COVID-19 in the 3-day National Vaccination Day this November. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte calls COVID-19 vaccinated Filipinos as heroes. Rosalie Cos details why.
The National COVID-19 Vaccination Day is scheduled from November 29 until December 1, in which the government aims to inoculate 15 million Filipinos all over the country. Vaccine SARS Secretary Carlito Galvez recommends to release an executive order declaring these 3 consecutive days as National COVID-19 Vaccination Days.
So ang objective po nito is to mobilize all stakeholders, the people and logistics to facilitate the vaccination with COVID-19 vaccines of at least 15 million individuals in 3 days.
All government agencies and units will be mobilized in partnership with the private sector. Health workers in the private, public, as well as self-employed healthcare workers will participate in the National Vaccination Day. Meanwhile, for President Rodrigo Duterte, vaccinated Filipinos are considered heroes. However, he also has something to say about those who refuse to be vaccinated.
Coinciding with our November 30 commemoration of Bonifacio Day. With this, we want to convey the message that every Filipino who will get vaccinated, lahat na pala, ang gustong sabihin dito sa gobyerno na yung lahat nagpabakuna are heroes. Lahat kayo hero. Yung hindi nagpabakuna yung mga pangit na putres ka. Bigyan ng problema na.
The chief executive reiterated the upcoming 3-day national vaccination drive and pointed out that as cases in the country are continuously decreasing, there is much reason to speed up the vaccination to prevent another surge. As of November 8, 2021, 29.8 million Filipinos are already fully vaccinated. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines received another batch of Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine doses procured by the government. The shipment containing 3 million doses arrived at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 2 today. The National Task Force Against COVID-19 said the latest batch of Sinovac jabs were procured by the government through a loan from the Asian Development Bank. In total, the Philippines has received more than 114 million doses of procured and donated COVID-19 vaccines since delivery started in February.
A lawmaker believes it is still too early to say that the country is winning the battle against COVID-19, as claimed by President Rodrigo Duterte. Meanwhile, some senators sought for clearer data on the purchase of vaccines as the Senate opens its plenary debates for the proposed national budget for next year. Arlene Delgado will tell us why.
Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon is happy to hear from President Duterte himself that the country is winning its fight against COVID-19. However, the veteran lawmaker believes it is still too early to say. He also noted that around 4 million Filipinos were still unemployed.
However, I think it is too early to tell, especially with the recent survey done by Bloomberg that our country is the least resilient among those surveyed, and therefore the worst place to be in during the pandemic. I think it is difficult to dispute that our country's recovery is still in limbo.
Drilon says he pointed this out to emphasize the importance of the 2022 national budget that they are now deliberating at the plenary. On its first day of the plenary debates, some senators raised questions on the data on the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines and booster shots. Senate Finance Committee Chairperson Sonny Angara says the panel increased the proposed budget to over 61 billion pesos. However, Senator Panfilo Lacson warns about a possible oversupply, saying that the vaccine supply may reach over 300 million doses. Lacson says as of September, the country secured 195 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines for this year. Angara then provided an updated figure for this month from Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. that it has now reached 197 million doses worth 80 billion pesos with the increase in donations.
117 million doses, no? Plus the 195 million na already secured. That's a total of 313 million doses. So kung i-divide natin ito ng 2 doses, 150 plus million people would be vaccinated, and we're only 111 million Filipinos, Mr. President. So why are we procuring so many doses of vaccines? Marami excess, Mr. President. We need to break down the figures for a better understanding.
I think we will have an oversupply, and I think if my personal opinion is that's a good thing, Mr. President, and that is what helped a lot of countries speed up their recovery. And that's a good situation to have vaccines as long as there is no spoilage, Mr. President. Yun ang importante dahil ayaw natin masayang po yung pera ni Juan de la Cruz.
Senator Richard Gordon has also requested a detailed data on the infection and vaccination rates of every region and province to get a clearer picture of the country's vaccination program. Drilon says they will wait for the updated data to study further the proposed 2022 budget on the vaccination program. Angara added that the government will use its savings this year to procure 20 million doses of booster shots. Jorlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Metro Manila mayors oblige merchants of pop-up markets to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
The Metro Manila Council says most merchants of pop-up markets in the National Capital Region come from different areas across the country. So it is vital that they are vaccinated against COVID-19 to get more protection as they conduct their business operation in Metro Manila. Metropolitan Manila Development Authority Chairman Benhar Abalos Jr. says it is difficult to trace these merchants after returning to their provinces should an outbreak occur. With this, the Metro Manila mayors agreed to implement mandatory COVID-19 vaccination among them.
Ang napagkasunduan namin, since ang mga galing sa Tiangge ay galing sa iba-ibang islands natin sa buong Pilipinas, baka po pwedeng bakunado sila to make sure that everyone is safe. So it will now be required, since they are seasonal, hindi mo na matitrace, after 2 months, mag-uuwian na sa probinsya, mawawala na sila.
Some Tiangge merchants in Divisoria in the city of Manila, on the other hand, have no objection on the mandatory vaccination and had themselves already vaccinated as well for everyone's protection.
Mas maganda po para iwas COVID. Kasi kami po bumabiyahe po kasi kaming Bulacan to Divisoria. Siyempre natatakot kami na walang bakuna, kaya nagpabakuna na rin kami.
Okay naman po yun, sir, para sa kalusugan din namin yun Para din sa lahat.
Siguro kung pwede nang silang pabakuna, magpabakuna na sila para maiwasan natin yung sakit na pumapasok sa atin.
Market shoppers also agreed to have the merchants vaccinated against the further spread of the deadly virus.
Para po iwas din po sa magkaroon ng virus, magkalat yung mga COVID. Kailangan po kasi para sa mga paligtasan din po natin.
Oo naman, para sa kaligtasan po na lahat. Kasi para sa atin din naman yung bakuna Para walang mahawa na hindi na kumalat yung COVID natin.
The MMC, however, clarifies that they may give merchants time to get vaccinated, especially to those who have already installed their stores. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines today logged 2,646 more cases of COVID-19, pushing the nationwide tally of confirmed infections to 2,809,311. The Department of Health, or DOH, said the latest count brought the country's active cases to 29,138. Of these cases, 60.8% are mild, 17.36% are moderate, 10.4% are severe, 7.0% are asymptomatic, and 4.4% are in critical condition. Meanwhile, total recoveries rose to 2,735,508 after 4,029 more patients recovered from the disease. COVID-related deaths climbed to 44,665 with 99 new fatalities. All accredited testing laboratories in the country were operational on November 8, but 5 laboratories failed to submit data on time, the DOH noted in its report. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has reached 250,885,008, while the deaths have surged to 5,065,514, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The U.S. is the worst hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 46,694,791 and 757,406 respectively. In terms of infections, India follows with 34,388,579 cases and 461,849 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes third with 609,756 fatalities.
A health expert believes that allowing children to go outdoors once a week will help promote their well-being amid the COVID-19 pandemic. But parents are warned in bringing their babies to crowded and enclosed spaces. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Children should be given the chance to spend more time outside of their homes for the benefit of their mental health. Children staying indoors may develop negative traits like being evasive, shyness, and lack of confidence. According to Dr. Camille Garcia, a clinical psychologist, kids should learn to interact with other people to build their trust.
Yung bang social interaction skills na lilimit. And then third, yung possibility na for them to be able to realize na there is a need for them to communicate with other people. At least, kung makakalabas once a week, pwede. Ngayon, kung may park, walk with your children, pero nandun pa rin yung safety protocols na, siyempre, kahit paano, kailangan medyo malinis yung lugar. Hindi natin alam kung how children will get infected. Kung dahil ba malakas ang immune system nila, kaya hindi sila kaagad na nakakawaan. Pero, kung masyadong marami ng tao, iba nga, di ba? Sabi nga, nung time na mayroong mga matitinding variant, dumaan lang, pwedeng mahawa ka na.
But Dr. Garcia also reminds parents to orient children that with the existence of COVID-19, staying outdoors should be limited.
Ikaw mismo ang magsaset ng limit na 2 oras lang tayo sa labas. Kakain lang muna tayo. Maigi na nag-iingat tayo kesa naman pag uwi natin magkasakit tayo. Hindi natin kaya kung ano ang mangyayari sa atin kung may magkakasakit ang isa sa atin. Equip your children with the necessary hygiene kit. Merong tissue, may yung 2 yung face mask, merong gloves kung talaga mahilig maghahawak yan kung saan-saan.
On the other hand, pediatric infectious disease expert Dr. Ana Ong Lim said it is alarming for some parents bringing their toddlers and babies outdoors. Dr. Lim explained that the public should consider the 4 guidelines when going outdoors, which is circulation, distance, wearing of face mask and shield, and limited interaction. Dr. Lim advises parents not to bring their babies and toddler in crowded and enclosed spaces.
Kakaunti pa lamang sa mga bata ang nabakunahan. So, bawas na yan sa isang layer of protection na meron para sa kanila. At pangalawa, yung behavior ng mga bata, alam naman natin, iisipin din natin, kailangan ba talagang ilabas yung mga babies, no? Kasi kung ang ating reason for going out is mabigyan ng ibang opportunities yung bata na ma-expose sa ibang environment, hindi naman absolutely necessary yan para sa mga babies.
COVID-19 doesn't spare anyone from being infected. In fact, it is not just those who belong to the working age 30 to 39 years old. Based on the DOH's report last August, COVID-19 cases are even higher among those 0 to 9 years old. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, more than 300,000 Filipinos employed in cinemas and other related industries are expected to return to work following the reopening of traditional cinemas. Janice Inhente explains why.
After almost 2 years of stoppage, the Interagency Task Force now allows the reopening of traditional cinemas in places under Alert Level 2. Employees of movie theaters in Metro Manila now returns to work.
Sobrang saya po ma'am na nakabalik na po kami ngayon sa cinema kasi matagal din po kami na stuck sa bahay. Almost 2 years. Hopefully magtuloy-tuloy na po. Kaya sisikapin po namin na maging safe po lahat ng moviegoers natin para maging tuloy-tuloy po ang trabaho.
Masaya din po kasi at least may income na magiging at least yung expenses maayos-ayos na din po. Ilan lang din po muna kami at least. So pag maging okay na din po siya, hopefully maging tuloy-tuloy na din po. At least dumami na din po kami na yung mga nawalan po ng trabaho, lalo na sa cinema. At least pray lang na maging okay lahat.
We recalled all our staff kasi unfortunately kami ang pinaka-direct hit dito sa pandemic, no, the cinema. Nung binuksan na namin, we all recalled them. Half of them already, and all of them said yes. So they're already working with us now.
In an early statement by the Department of Trade and Industry, 300,000 workers in the country are expected to return to work once the cinema reoperates. Meanwhile, cinema operators also ensure that the moviegoers are safe.
Ventilation, we provided an air dumper. No? It induces fresh air coming from the outside para magkaroon ng circulation of air. And then we filter. Then we also disinfect every screening. No? That's why our intermission is for an hour apart.
Under the IATF guidelines, cinemas can accommodate up to 50% of maximum venue capacity, but only those who are fully vaccinated will be allowed entry to the cinema. Eating inside cinemas are prohibited. Physical distancing seating should be implemented. Cinema operators must implement body temperature check, contact tracing form, and other health protocols in and outside the cinema, including regular disinfection, and must improve air ventilation. With the opening of cinema, mall owners are confident that the foot traffic in malls will increase and more businesses will recover from the loss. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Commission on Elections Director James Jimenez admits that the dockets of the Comelec division are full of cases against aspirants in the 2022 national and local elections. Dante Amento tells us why live. Dante, go ahead.
Good evening, Diego. The Commission on Elections has received a total of 91 petitions seeking to cancel certificates of candidacy. Comelec spokesman Director James Jimenez says these cases are for different national posts or aspirants. One of these complaints was filed by some civic groups against presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. for allegedly false material representation.
Marami. Napakarami. It's more than this is all different positions eh. It's no, not yet, no. For national level pa lang ito. For declaration of nuisance, so cancellation denial, di ba? 91 petitions for cancellation have been filed so far.
Jimenez also stresses these cases are aside from other complaints they received, such as petitions for disqualification, among others. The Comelec Education Information Division or Comelec EID added they also moved to declare over 200 national aspirants as nuisance, of which Comelec filed 82 petitions for the position of president.
For the position of president, meron pong 82 na petitions na final ang Comelec, 15 for vice president, and 108 for those who filed for the position of senator. Sa iba pong mga ibang petitions, wala po akong may bibigay na datos pa.
Meanwhile, the poll body would have the filing of COC withdrawal and substitution at Comelec Central Office in Palacio del Gobernador lobby for the remaining days of substitution of official candidates of political party or coalition. Filing will start at 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 p.m. starting tomorrow to Saturday, and the last day would be on Monday, November 15.
It's the last day, and we know as a matter of history that Filipinos love last days, and so we're a little concerned na kung magdagsaan dito yung magwi-withdraw, which is required because it's personal, baka magkaroon sila ng supporters na kasama, and so we have to push it inside, right? Just as a matter of anticipation, we move it inside so we can control the crowds better.
Diego, one of the expected to allegedly file is as substitute is Davao City Mayor Inday Sara Duterte after withdrawing her COC for local chief executive yesterday. But Comelec clarifies they have not received any arrangement from Sara's camp but to wait what will happen in the last days of substitution. And that's our latest live from Quezon City. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Dante Amento. Reporting live from Quezon City.
Meanwhile, 2,000 overseas Filipino workers bound for the Middle East received their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Aileen Cerudo reports why.
To further protect overseas workers against the COVID-19 virus before leaving the country, the Department of Labor and Employment led the vaccination drive for OFWs.
Yung bakuna na yan, hiningin ko para sa inyo dahil ng request ni Ma'am Lucy sa akin na ready for deployment yung ating mga bayan pero hindi pa nakauna.
The OFWs arrived at the office of the Labor Department in Intramuros, Manila to receive AstraZeneca vaccines donated by the government of Brunei to the Philippines. These overseas workers will be deployed in Middle East countries including Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. Bella said the donated vaccines will provide enough protection for our fellow men that will work abroad. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte said it is not right to remove an employee if they're not yet vaccinated.
As a lawyer, I would say na kung nandiyan ka na sa trabaho mo at ayaw mong magpabakuna, well, that is too bad for the employer. But sabi ng mga labor lawyers strongly saying that hindi pwede yung paalisin mo kung ayaw magpabakuna. That would be a violation of the law. And I think I agree with it.
However, the president pointed out that employers still have the right to require applicants to receive vaccination against COVID-19.
But I think it's legal for employers not to accept people who are not vaccinated. Tama sila. I agree with them. Ano si lawyer, sabihin ko, mukhang tama ang ginawa ninyo. You're just protecting business and other people.
Duterte explained that employers would deny work for unvaccinated individuals to protect their investment and employees. The issue of mandatory COVID-19 vaccination was previously raised in hopes to increase the number of vaccinated Filipinos in the country. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. also expressed support in making COVID-19 vaccination mandatory. Aileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, United States President Joe Biden is set to meet virtually with China's leader Xi Jinping next week in the hope of easing the frictions driven by multiple issues between the countries. Mavian Dog will give us the details live. Yes, Maeve, good evening.
Marielle, following the tensions between two of the world's biggest economies, U.S. officials believe the best way to prevent conflict and potentially ease up the tension is to engage directly with the Chinese president. White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre said the virtual meeting is part of an ongoing effort to improve the relationship between the two countries, and no specific outcomes are expected. Washington and Beijing have been in disagreement on issues surrounding Taiwan, the origin of the pandemic, and China's expanding nuclear arsenal. Experts anticipate that the two leaders may discuss relaxing of visa restrictions for each other's journalists and the possibility of reopening consulates in Chengdu and Houston after being shut in a diplomatic dispute in 2020. While the two sides have agreed to hold the meeting before the end of the year, spokespersons for the White House and the Chinese embassy in Washington have declined to confirm an exact date. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, Maven Dog, for that live report. Singapore has decided to stop covering the medical bills of patients who remain unvaccinated against COVID-19 as new infections start to rise again. Ia De Vera will tell us why live. Yes, Ia.
Marielle, Singapore will now require unvaccinated patients to pay for their own medical bills to lessen the load of medical expenses within the country. Singapore's Ministry of Health, or MOH, stated that unvaccinated people put the most pressure in the country's healthcare system since they are part of the majority that require intensive care due to the virus. The MOH in a statement further added that the government has been subsidizing full coronavirus medical bills ever since the pandemic began to support its residents. Now, with the new infections quickly on the rise, those still unvaccinated by choice will have to cover for their own medical bills. From December 8, 2021, the subsidy policy will then change, according to Ong Ye Kung, Health Minister and co-chair of the Multi-Ministry Task Force.
Our hospitals really much prefer not to have to bill these patients at all. But we have to send this important signal to urge everyone to get vaccinated if you are eligible.
On the other hand, the MOH stated that for those who are fully vaccinated, the subsidy will continue while the pandemic situation is still unstable. For people who are partially vaccinated, they will be allowed to complete their vaccinations until December 31 to continue access to this coverage. Children under the age of 12 and those medically unfit to be vaccinated will still have access to the support. Within the last 24 hours, Singapore has already reported 14 related deaths and 3,222 new cases of COVID-19 within the community, 169 of those which are from dormitories and 6 from overseas. Currently, there are 72 critical ill patients in ICU. Marielle?
Thank you, Ia De Vera, for that live report. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board is finalizing the list of beneficiaries of the fuel subsidy by the government. The agency says they're looking to remove some of the operators on the list. Asher Kadapan Jr. details why live. Yes, Asher, good evening.
Good evening, Harleen. The number of qualified public utility jeepney operators who will receive fuel subsidy, reaching to over 136,000 individuals, includes those who receive their bank account cards under the Pantawid Pasada program implemented in 2018 and 2019. But the Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board says the list needs to be updated as some operators did not receive their bank cards in the previous implementation and need to be provided with new cards, while possible new operators may also need to be included in the program and receive their bank cards.
So from the 136 na yon, baka yung iba inactive na. So pina-finalize lang, kaya mag-a-adjust talaga yon. So may effect yun dun sa individual na amount.
The LTFRB targets to start disbursing the subsidy to the operators through the Land Bank of the Philippines within the month.
Well, hopefully may start na natin. Within this November, may roll out na natin yan. Kasi ang pagkakaalam ko, papasok na yung fund galing sa dito DOTR itong week na to.
The LTFRB, however, reminds the PUJ operators that the latter have signed an agreement under the Pantawid Pasada program, which emphasizes that the fuel subsidy should be used by the drivers for their operation. The operators may opt to provide the bank card to the drivers to use in gasoline stations for fuel refilling, or the operators may refill the fuel themselves, but should make sure that the drivers will not pay for the cost of the fuel. Arlene, the LTFRB warns the operator that they may be penalized for any such violation in the subsidy program. Arlene?
Thank you. Asher Cadapan Jr. reporting live from Quezon City.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government proposed to require vaccination among the Pantawid Pamilyang Filipino program beneficiaries. However, the Department of Social Welfare and Development explains they will not mandate the said proposition. JP Nunez will tell us why live. JP, go ahead.
Yes, Diego, with the fear of not receiving benefits from Pantawid Pamilyang Filipino program or 4Ps from the Department of Social Welfare and Development, Rosemary Basas, a resident of Baseco, Manila, was forced to get vaccinated against COVID-19 yesterday. This after the Interior and Local Government proposed to require vaccination before subsidy for 4Ps members.
Kaya nga po, nag-decide po kami na ng 4Ps kasi bakuna. Kasi sabi matanggal daw pag hindi nakapag-bakuna. Kasi po para hindi matanggal sa 4Ps, yun po ang sabi nila eh. Pag walang bakuna, malamang na maano ka sa 4Ps.
The DSWD reports that as of November 5, 3.5 million among the 4.1 million 4Ps members are not yet vaccinated against COVID-19. The department admits that there is still hesitancy among the indigent population, but they tried to address the issue.
Bago po tayo mag-roll out, Yusek Rocky, ng ating vaccination program, nagkaroon po tayo ng survey. Tapos dun po sa survey na yon, meron po silang mga binigay na mga hesitations or mga fears. And after that po, kami po sa katulong natin po ang ating Department of Health, nagawa po tayo ng mga information education campaign materials at sinagot po natin lahat po ng kanilang mga hesitancy.
DSWD spokesperson Assistant Secretary Glenda Rilova explains that the low number of vaccinated 4Ps members is due to priority as they are part of the A5 category, but the department hopes the vaccination will still increase. Rilova further asked partner agencies to further discuss the no vaccine, no benefit policy before the implementation.
Maapila po ang DSWD sa ating mga partner agencies na magkaroon muna ng pag-uusap tungkol dito. Subalit nais naming banggitin na ang DSWD ay naniniwala ang pagbabakuna ay nananatiling voluntaryo at kinakailangan po talaga ang informed consent ng ating mga beneficiaryo.
However, Diego, instead of requiring vaccination, the department proposes to give incentives to those who are fully vaccinated to encourage others. That is our latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, JP Nunez, reporting live from Quezon City.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of 1 Peter, chapter 3, verses 10 to 11, it says, "For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that speak no guile. Let him eschew evil, and do good. Let him seek peace, and ensue it." And those are the reasons behind the news, November 10, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.